Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q3 FY21 earnings conference call of Rupa and Company Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Dinesh Kumar Lodha, CEO of Rupa and Company Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. So hello and good afternoon everyone. First and foremost, I hope you all are keeping safe and healthy. Today on the call, I am joined by our promoter, Mr. Vikas Agarwal, and Orient Capital, our investor relation partners. We have uploaded our investor deck and results highlighted on the stock exchange and company website. I hope everybody had an opportunity to go through the same. Since we are doing the quarterly earnings call for the first time, I would like to share a brief overview of our company, its journey so far, and a growth strategy going forward. This will be followed by a operational and financial performance of quarter and 9-month ended fiscal year 21. Post that, we'll open the floor for question and answer, and then we can have a discussion. Rupa is today one of the leading knitwear brand in India, covering the entire range of knitted garments from the innerwear to casual wear. Started as a dream in the far-sighted mindset of 3 men of vision and enterprise, Rupa has evolved to become the front runner in India and leading player in global market with a far-reaching footprint and millions of satisfied customers. This is because Rupa believes in staying ahead, not just in terms of volume, but also in technology and product innovation. In line with the evolving customer preference and market demand, Rupa periodically introduce new variety of each sub-brand. These products have the latest fabric innovation, cutting-edge production technique, and advanced design element to give the finest experience of style and comfort to end users. Rupa has unparalleled product portfolio of innerwear, thermal wear, casual, athleisure, and time to time we change our products based on the requirement and evolve in the market. We have multiple brands across all the price segment, whether it is economy, mid segment, premium, and super premium segment, and also across men, women, and kids. We have 4 state-of-art manufacturing facilities, one in Damjur, Tirupur, Bangalore, and Ghaziabad, with a capacity of 7 lakhs finished product, per day. Quality and innovation, we feel one of the, we feel proud of, and we keep investing on the same year to year. Innerwear, thermal and hosiery products are made from superior and natural fabrics that are grown in sustainable farming methods. We make soft, breathable, lush, and comfy knitted wear that also lives the environment in every way we can. Coming to distribution, the company has pan-India presence with over 1,200 dealers and over 125 retail touchpoints. Rupa enjoys a very strong position in east of India and has gained significant presence in north, followed by western India. Rupa is increasing its footprint in South India and plans to expand the improved market share going ahead. Our strategy is to foray in newer market by appointing new distributor and business experience team and further strengthening our shares in existing markets. Rupa export in multiple countries and recently we started our business in Russia, Nigeria, and other countries. We are continuously investing in brand development and investing more than 1,000 crore on brand development in last decade. The company has a strong brand recall value. The company is planning to scale up a high margin revenue business to include the brand like FCUK, Frozen Loom, and M-Series. The vision is to occupy the consumer mindscape in this category and where the aspiration India consumer can show up the style content and different taste. Our aim is to make premium innerwear based on comfort accessible to the consumer. The company is also reinforcing high growth segment, that is the athleisure, women wear, and thermal wear segment. Export is muted this year, but we're expecting it to double in next 2 years' time. The company has a good presence in modern trade, having presence in more than 150 stores, more on the LFS segment. Our strategy is to increase brand footprint across all brands, creating a special product line more relevant to modern trade and improve on time and serviceability. Future plan to have a presence in more than 300 counters in the next 2 years. I'm happy to say the company has also started opening EBOs, and we have now 11 EBO in place, and we're expecting to be 25 by the year end. We're expecting 150 EBOs in next 2 year time. Rupa is present across all e-commerce sites, and future plan is to enhance brand visibility and through the increasing online presence. Now come financials numbers. Our company has reported a strong growth for the quarter and 9 months ended 31st December 2020. Revenue for quarter 3, fiscal week 21 stood at 346 crore versus 308 crore, registering a growth of 12% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA has been strong with a 40%, which growth of 40%, which stood at 64 crore as compared to 46 crore in quarter 3 of fiscal week 20. We have seen an improvement of 370 basis points in our EBITDA margin due to change of product mix, improved operating efficiency, cost of reduction in fact. Our EBITDA margin for the quarter stood at 18.6% as compared to 14.9% in quarter 3 fiscal week 20. Profit after tax for the quarter stood at 43 crore versus 29 crore in the same quarter last year. PAT margin quarter stood at 12.6%, showing improvement at 330 basis points compared to 9.3% last year the same quarter. Coming to 9-month performance, our revenue stood at 859 crore versus 795, registering growth of 8%. EBITDA for 9 months stood at 167 crore compared to 106 crore in last year the same time, registered 57% year-on-year growth. EBITDA margin also healthy improvement of 610 basis points, which stood at 19.4% versus 13.3% last year. Profit after tax for the 9 months stood at 109 compared to 66 crore last year the same time, recording a growth of 65%. PAT margin stood at 12.7%, a stellar improvement of 440 basis points as compared to 8.3% in the last year. I think with this, we will open the floor for question and answer. And as I said, I have with me Mr. Vikas Agarwal, promoter of the company, and myself.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Shalini from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I had 2-3 questions. One is that sir was in his presentation, sir was saying that the reason for the change in the EBITDA margins, basically, EBITDA margins have gone up because of a change in the product mix. So if you could just talk about that, that's question number 1.
Absolutely. I think the high margin product mix like thermal, we have seen an incremental growth of 25% plus, which again give us almost 10 to 15% extra margin in compared to normal what we see on average margin. Same way with the outerwear, which is Bumchum, we have seen almost a growth of 50% plus till now. Again, a very stellar performance. So the mix of higher margin product like outerwear, premium segment like M series, where we are seeing a huge growth against last year. We have growth about 30% plus against last year, and thermal again at 25%. So these are mix, which is a high margin product, has helping us to. Besides that, as you know, some of the margin improvement has happened because of some of the cost part, but product mix also helping to some extent. Yeah.
And so, if you could just speak about athleisure. I mean, athleisure, how much are you growing there? But the sense I get is that probably you're not growing as much as the market because a lot of players in the market are growing at 15-20%. So if you could just speak about your growth in the athleisure market.
So we have, just to give you on a Bumchum, which is our main outerwear brand, we used to normally do 70 crore, and this year we're expecting to cross 100 crore. So you can understand not 15-20, but we are talking 40% plus growth here. So clearly, I think we are taking lead and taking share in our outerwear. Yeah.
It is a mix of athleisure and casual wear both.
Okay. And sir, and I mean, if you could just, when you're saying premium, I'm assuming you're talking about FC UK and Fruit of the Loom. So if you could talk about how these two brands have grown.
So when we say premium, our in-house premium, which is our own brand called M Series, that is one of the Microman M Series, that has the huge growth this year. So that is the main growth engine from the premium side. Besides that, FCUK and FOTL also has a growth. But I think on FCUK and FOTL, our whole idea this year was to really come back on the profitability path more than growth. So what you have seen, both this brand used to have EBITDA 10 crore loss, and we're expecting this to be a positive EBITDA this year. So there is a huge turnaround of the business from the profitability point of view, and the business is very stable now to take the next jump in terms of growth mode. As I said, M Series, we have seen a growth almost 30 to 35% this year against last year, and also even past trend, I think we are seeing a growth in the M Series segment. Yeah.
And so my last question, I mean, we have seen a huge jump in EBITDA margins in these 9 months. I mean, for example, in the quarter gone by, I think the EBITDA margins were probably close to 16%, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, whatever it is, there's been a huge jump. So what kind of margins should one expect going into FY22?
So traditionally, if you have seen our number, we used to be about 13-14%, and this year we will be ending somewhere between 18% plus, which is a significant growth of 4 to 5%. We expect actually to be, EBITDA margin to remain maybe 1% here and there, but we should be like 17% EBITDA margin as a sustainable basis going forward.
17% plus.
17% plus. Okay, thank you, sir. All the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Dhruv Kashyap from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity and good afternoon to both the gentlemen and congratulations on a stellar job that you guys at Rupa have been doing in the last few years. I had 3 questions. The first is, would you be just able to share a bit of color on, how the industry players stack up in terms of Jockey, Rupa, Lux, etc., in terms of, national sort of value and volume market share, and also if you could give some sort of regional flavor and rural-urban mix.
So I think I'll give you first the rural and the urban mix. The rural and urban, we have our 60-40 sort of mix. And what we have seen this year, just to give you a little snapshot of this year, because we are just reviewing this year. I think what we are seeing that the first 2 quarters after the lockdown opened, we're seeing the rural has come back very strongly, after the lockdown opening up. Whereas the urban has started showing results from the last quarter, the quarter which just went by. So we are seeing now the growth coming from across both the segments, but the first 2 quarters, which is till September, we're seeing rural is something which is showing up the show. Yeah. As far as competition is concerned, this year clearly Jockey, as you must have seen, they overall they are leading the market, but they have a huge degrowth in the first half, where we have a pretty large growth as far as number is concerned. Lux and Dollar, both first 9 months, I will say that they are either negative or almost on the last year number. And those numbers are already visible, already has reported, so I will not be commenting more on that. We will be, as I said, we will be expecting a pretty solid growth as well as solid growth on EBITDA this year. We will be almost doubling our PAT. So that's the way I see right now in the industry. So I think Jockey may have this quarter turning back in terms of growth path. Yeah.
But sir, more in terms of like AC Nielsen reports in the FMCG segment, would you be able to share some color on market shares or size of each player? What's the position on each of them ranked in the market? I mean, some color, because we really don't have access to that information.
So there is no published data, frankly, or a brand label, but on the 5 player, the major 5-6 players, what we have the data, which has been listed and which has been there in the market. Jockey is leading the show, and Lux, and we will be, almost there together, very near to that number, at a market share of 14 to 15%. Yeah. And Dollar is little below that, and then Amul and others are also very similar. So again, very, very near to all the companies are very nearby number except the Jockey. But we are expecting that to take lead in the industry as we go forward.
So just to clarify, sir, before I move to my second question, this is, you are saying that number 1 is clearly Jockey and number 2 and 3 keeps changing between Lux and Rupa.
Yeah.
Okay. And regional-wise, sir, where are the opportunities for Rupa? I'm guessing you must be extremely fortified in the east. But what about north, west, and south in terms of opportunity?
So we have very strong presence in north. Take a UP or Delhi, we have very strong presence. But within that, there may be a space where we are focusing right now where we may not be doing that great. So again, in the west, we are doing very well in Maharashtra and Gujarat, and Rajasthan again we are doing pretty well. But within those states also, there are a space where we have to do more, and that's something we are focusing on. South is one area where we have not done well in the past. We are doing pretty good in Karnataka, but besides Karnataka, I think we have a challenge, where we are working right now.
So my second question is that, is there any benefit to your industry through the performance link incentive export scheme?
Yeah, at the moment, nothing. But for man-made fibers and all, if you get into that and if there is a clearance on FTA agreements and all later, we might get into that. But at the moment, nothing.
So that means, Agarwal sir, currently none of your products would qualify under the, as is your current portfolio, that is.
The PLI, clearly, PLI scheme says, irrespective of whatever turnover if you have in textile, which has to be above 100 crores, and if you add on to any of those products which qualify for PLI scheme, which is man-made fibers and technical apparels, you qualify for the PLI scheme. So once we get into that space, we are qualified for PLI scheme.
Okay, great. My last question, sir, is that given that this has been a difficult year, there was a lockdown, then things started to come back, e-commerce came back, then people started visiting stores. How are you seeing demand now, especially with the winters having passed, and since you have a significant play in the winter category as well, how do you see the demand progressing from, let's say, the start of last year to now the start of this year?
Demand will be definitely there. Definitely after pandemic, we all understand, like after food and medicines, we have to use hosiery on everyday basis. And with the lifestyle change, we understand casual wear, leisure wear, athleisure is into a big trend now. And this trend will sustain because of change in lifestyle. So yeah, I think this demand is sustainable. And with government thrust on agriculture, on the rural areas, this demand will grow, keep growing. And
are you seeing that currently in the last few quarters numbers?
Sorry?
Are you seeing that in the last few quarters numbers in terms of demand progressively picking up?
Yeah, definitely. December was a bit low, but January again it is picking up well.
It's picking up well. Okay. Great, sir. Thank you so much for your thing and all the very best, sir. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Anuj Sehgal from Manas Asian Equities Value Fund. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Sehgal, your audio is not very clear. May I request you to please check your phone line? No, sir, it is not clear at all. I would request you to rejoin the call, please. Till then, we'll move to the next question. The next question is from the line of Pankaj Jain from Mahavir Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. Sir, I would like to know what is the current working capital usage for the business as on 9 months, and what are the debtor level and creditor levels?
Your voice is not clear, but I suppose you're talking about working capital, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think working capital, we have seen a significant improvement from, if you see the number, we have working capital of 204 days last year at the same time. Now we have 171 days. Our target is to move to 150 and below, and that is where it will be. And we are working towards that. We are working on towards that. So clearly, we are moving towards making this significant down from the past.
Okay, sir, and a couple of more. What would be our targets for export business, and how do we plan to grow that business, and what would be the targets going forward?
So export this year is a muted in that sense. We may not be growing in export that much this year, but we're expecting a 40 to 50% jump next year because we have acquired a couple of big customers this year, which we should be starting showing up result next year. As I said earlier, I think we are expecting doubling down export number, though it is still a very small number in the overall scenario, but we are expecting to double down on export number in 2 years' time.
Okay. And sir, last question from my end would be, sir, since this everything is now pandemic time and the omni-channel is taking pace, so what would be our e-commerce strategy, and how are we planning to get some shares from the e-commerce business, like e-selling it somewhere on websites or apps or through shopping channels?
We have presence across all the top sites, whether it is Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra, and we have seen almost doubling down this year. We will be double the number of e-commerce what we have last year. But again, it is still a pretty early stage from where we can see the growth, and we're expecting this growth to continue in going forward and give us incremental growth. As far as our website, we are also working on that to gain more share through our own site. But we have a large presence on all the top sites where we are focusing more.
Sure. That's it from my end. If I have any more questions, I'll get back in the queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anuj Sehgal from Manas Asian Equities Value Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about the connection last time. My first question is, can you share the average ASP of your innerwear, athleisure wear, and outerwear? And secondly, in terms of your channel mix between the multi-brand outlets and e-commerce and modern trade, can you share what percentage of sales do you get from each segment and each channel, and how has the growth been across these three channels year to date for this fiscal year? And then lastly, you did mention that your growth, of course, has been much stronger. So what has been the main driver of this growth relative to your peers so far this year? Thank you.
Okay, so I think ASP, I think you have so many questions. I hope I remember all, but let me just try to answer. As far as ASP is concerned, this is very broad actually. The average is not going to make any sense because it started at 350 box to move up to 2,000 rupees a box. But just to answer you, it will be on an average, it will be between 600 700 rupees as far as ASP is concerned, what we have. And in a premium segment, it will go up to 2,000 rupees. So again, it's a broad range where we play, and a super premium where it goes up to 3,000 rupees also. So this is a different category, a different ASP will be there. As far as segment is concerned,
by category, sorry, so just to clear, by category, if you can give some sense, so for example, innerwear, what is the range? What is the range for outerwear, and what is the range for your thermal?
So thermal will be in the ASP on terms of, I'll say the retail price. The retail price will be in the range of 2,000 or 3,000 rupees. Yeah, 300 rupees to 400 rupees per piece, I'll say. That is the range, and it go up to some of the range, maybe a 600 rupees, but more and all 300 to 400 rupees. As far as innerwear is concerned, per piece will start from 70, 80 to move up to 400 rupees. Outerwear, as you asked, outerwear starting range will be about 700 to 800. It go up to 2,500 to 3,000 rupees.
Okay, understood. That's very clear. And then, so my other question was on the channels, between modern trade, multi-brand outlets, exclusive brand outlets, and online. What is the mix of your sales, and which channel has sort of driven the growth this year so far?
So the channel which has, this will be across actually for most of the companies, but for us, e-commerce, we will be doubling this year, as I mentioned earlier. And though the modern trade as a segment is still very early stage from our overall growth perspective, we are seeing some downfall in LFS because of first two quarters. But quarter three, LFS has turned around, and we are seeing quarter four again a big number on LFS. So as far as modern trade, which is compromised, which has the e-commerce and the LFS and the EBOs, altogether, I think quarter four onward we'll see growth across all the three segments. But because the first two quarters has LFS has a downfall because of the lockdown and also not open complete market, e-commerce has lead the show with the growth of 100%.
Right. And what is the mix of your sales across these channels?
Mix, when you say mix, means innerwear, outerwear?
Meaning what percentage of your turnover comes from multi-brand outlets, EBOs?
Yeah, modern trade as an overall number is just a 3% to 3.5% right now. And so maybe a 4% will be ending the year 4%. So, but we are expecting this to touch 10% in next 2 years' time, and that is our focus area. And within that space, e-commerce will be about 70%.
And rest is largely general trade only, other than export.
Yeah, most of the business is export and general trade. General trade is a major part of our business, as you said.
So basically, just to be clear, general trade is about 96% of the business, and 4% is the modern trade plus exclusive brand outlets and online, of which 70% is online right now.
So 4% modern trade, 2% export, and then 94 will be GT. That's the split.
Okay. And then the growth largely, therefore, this year again has been essentially, because as you said, modern trade was slow and even LFS was slow. So it's online, which has doubled, but it is still a small percentage. But bulk of the growth has basically come from the general trade this year.
Online.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, like in next couple of years, like 10% should come from the modern business, and another 4-5% should contribute from export, at least.
So one of the key strategies.
And then
again, couple of the key strategy which we mentioned earlier in our presentation also, we are expecting modern trade to contribute 10% of our number from what we have right now in next 2 years' time, 2 to 3 years' time. And the same with export, we will be doubling the number in 2 years. So those contributions will go up to 13-14% from what we have right now.
Right. And then lastly, in terms of your growth for this year so far, you've grown better than the industry and some of your peers. So what has driven that? Have you gained market share, or is it a function of a lot of new product launches, or can you just give us some sense of what has driven that growth?
I think it's a mix of all. So some new and launches also, some shift from unorganized to organized as well. And of course, online and e-commerce is there. And market share is also, we have penetrated deep also. So that's also there.
Right. And then, sorry, just to be, just on the last question. So the growth that you've seen, would you have a sense of whether this is also the growth that your retailers have seen, or there could be some level of inventory build in the channel?
Inventory is actually light in the channel because in pandemic, the supply was very bad. So across all the channel, either it is retailer or dealer, they have sold off all their old inventories also. So the channel is right now than what was in past. Much right.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, we would like to remind our participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Nilesh Doshi from Green Lantern Capital. Please go ahead.
So a couple of questions from my side. First is on this growth, what we have seen in last 9 months. And you did allude that there is some shift from unorganized to organized. So the question is that is it because of COVID and lockdown, this unorganized sector was not able to come back for manufacturing in terms of their working capital, their raw material requirement, etc. So as things normalize and when they come back, do we see a degrowth for us, or we don't see this kind of a growth going forward?
So it is not a significant move from unorganized to organized because of COVID. I mean, there may be some extent in the initial first 1 month or 2 months, but after that everybody will catch up. So I don't see that will be a reason for not growing. As I said, we are looking growth of 13 to 15% even next year easily with our growth strategy. So I don't see that as a challenge. But yes, to some extent in the initial part of the lockdown opening, there may be some shift happen, but I think that has been catch up in the quarter 2, quarter 3.
But yes, at the same time, the way Indian economy is growing, there will be a general shift from unorganized to organized, which will be forever, which will last.
And that will benefit.
Definitely there.
Yeah, so when we say unorganized to organized shift, yes, everyone has come under GST structure.
Yeah.
But going forward, is the brand going to play a differentiation, or still the pricing point is going to be? Because invariably I have seen that there is no pull for the brand in innerwears and outerwears. I think most of the time the retailer display all the products and then location-wise there could be a different product selling. So how do we see if we have to...
Of course, there is always a pull for the brand, and as we have all the segments, we have a bottom of the segment also, like we have economy segment also. So that works against all these local players and all. So we play across all the segments.
Okay.
So that helps us to work in different dynamics.
Achha. Sir, how big would be the unorganized market today?
Very difficult to comment, but at least 40-50%.
Okay. So the next question is, recently we have seen a very spike in yarn prices and obviously leading to the product price increase. Yeah. So how do we see in terms of, or how quickly we change our pricing structure and ensure that we maintain our margins?
That works well for us. Like with increasing trend, our dealers pick up more stock, and we easily transfer those prices to the market, and we have taken like at least 3 to 4 price hikes in last 1.5 months.
Oh, okay. But our model of we are a very light manufacturing model, right? Like practically.
Yes.
So we completely outsource the product through our...
No, we don't outsource the product. We buy our own yarn. We do our own knitting and all. Only the stitching part is largely with our old job workers, which are exclusive job workers, which are with us from last 40-50 years, and we keep upgrading them. Otherwise, we'll have like more than 30,000-40,000 laborers under one umbrella, which is not practical.
I see. And the last is on the export. We export in our own brands, or actually we
so far under own brand only, largely.
Okay.
But with coming times, we might consider job works also with some other brands also.
Okay. That's
we might consider that as well.
Okay. So thank you for. I'll come back in the queue. Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ridhima Chandak from Roha Asset Managers. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Sir, my question is on our total volume. So what is the total volume in the quarter 3 versus last year, Q3 FY20 and 9-month volume?
So on the 12 months, quarter 4 and full year basis, as I said, we will be growing at a volume against last year. Volume will be grown over 37%. And even on an 18-19 basis, we will be growing about 14% on a full year basis. Till now, our growth is very similar to that. It will not be very big change. So pretty much growth both on a value and volume.
So any specific number if you want to quantify?
So as I said, till 9 months, we will be growing at 12%, 11% on value.
Means I felt like you have done the specific means in terms of lakh pieces.
It's 1.32 crore is what the volume what we have in 9 months.
Okay, and last same period last year?
1.178. Yeah.
Okay. Other question is on the costing part. So our advertisement expense at the end of FY20 was approximately 7.7% approx. And in 9 months, advertisement expense dropped down to 4%, whereas it was 6% in 9 months FY20. Also on the other cost side, it has dropped down very significantly from 16% to now 11% in a 9 months. So going forward, what would be the run rate in terms of advertisement and other expenses?
So we will be ending this year on a total year basis. We will be ending at 4.6 to 4.7%, and we're expecting this to be around 6.2% as we go forward. It will not be because the reason, couple of things. I think we are using social media a lot this year, and we're seeing a huge impact on that, and that actually has a high impact with the lower cost in that sense. So traditionally it was more on the TV and papers, which we are now using social media also as a big area for our advertisement, which is helping us to reach more younger generation as well as also on the cost side impacting. So our advertisement will be at around 6% going forward.
This quarter we had an extra.
This quarter will be definitely a higher advertisement, which already we are factoring in when we talk numbers.
Okay.
2.5% higher than last quarter.
You mean Q3?
Q4.
No, Q3 is 2.5% higher than the last Q2, and Q4 will be around the same level.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Abhishek, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. This is Abhishek. First of all, many congratulations for a stellar performance in Q3 as well. Just one small question is on the yarn prices. I could not follow what exactly you said on the yarn prices, because I've been reading a lot in newspaper that yarn prices over last 3-4 months have continuously gone up. And if I'm not wrong, it's gone up by almost 20-25%.
More actually, yeah.
Basically, my question is that if 20-25% of yarn price increases happen, will that impact start showing in the quarters to come, or what exactly is our steps that we are taking to ensure that that impact is not there in our EBITDA margins?
So just to inform you, we have raised our price twice by now, and we are expecting one more price rise in next 10-15 days time. So that has been already covered through our price rise and already passed on to the distributor as well as the retail channel. We don't see that impacting us negatively as far as profitability is concerned, because we have taken decision immediately seeing the prices, and those have been passed on also. So there is a 3 price rise actually in last 2 months almost.
And Abhishek, that actually helps us. If there is a increasing price trend, distributors tend to take more stocks.
Liquidating the old inventory.
So that actually helps the market to grow.
Okay, one more question, sir. How has been the working capital and the cash flow positions during Q3?
So I talked about working capital just some time back. So our number of days actually it's from 204 at the same time last year. It's moved to 171 days, and I said we were targeting to achieve 150 days and below as we go forward. So there is significant improvement on working capital. As well as on the cash, overall from the cash operation, we have generated this year so far, for the December quarter, we have generated 117 crore, and from the operating activity is 95 crore. So it is significant cash generation happened in last quarter. On YTD basis also, we have generated from operation almost 200 crore, and that's why we are net right now. We are cash positive. We don't have net borrowing right now, so we are cash positive.
We're debt-free by this.
We are debt-free company as such.
Thank you so much, sir, and good luck for the coming quarters.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhiral Shah from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Congratulations for the great set of numbers, and thank you for organizing this con call. So my first question is, what is the current capacity utilization?
So right now we are utilizing about 75 to 80%, I will say. So we are still 20% capacity which we can use, and always we want to keep some capacity, so to take the growth and momentum jumps sometime. So that's the way it is right now. But as we go forward, we look for expansion as we go forward. But right now there is no plan.
Okay. And so second thing, sir, you talked about improvement in working capital cycles. So which category you are focusing on inventory, receivable days, or payable days, sir, to bring down this to 150 days?
There is of that will be through inventory, though receivable also will be going down. But inventory where we are right now move from 145 to 125, we intend to below 90 days we go forward. So that will be a significant challenge which we are taking ourselves to move forward.
Okay, great, sir. And lastly, so what is the pricing difference between the unorganized as well as organized segment, the category in which we are focusing on?
This is very difficult to say, but there will be 50% almost a difference sometime. So very difficult to say what type of, each market has a different unorganized player, but it can vary between 20% to 50% depend on the market and the type of product.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anish Jupalia from Banyan Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir, and thank you for the opportunity. Congrats for this set of numbers. So just
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Jupalia, but your voice is not clear, sir.
Yeah, is my voice more clear now?
Yes.
Hello.
May I request you to move to a better reception area, sir?
Yeah, is it better now? Hello.
It's better. Yes, it's
so
better.
I just wanted to check with you, sir. You mentioned about the EBO strategy, wherein you have some 15 EBO outlets and you will end up with 25, which is expected to ramp up to 150. So just wanted to understand this strategy a bit better, and what kind of growth can this contribute to our overall top line, and also if you could share a bit about who is leading this initiative, because where I'm coming from is that it's also a challenge to create profitability from an EBO venture, and also its working capital is more intensive. So overall, how are you fitting this piece into your overall strategy?
Thank you for the question. I think the first and foremost, I just want to mention here that our EBOs are all under FOFO, which is franchise on franchise operate. So we don't keep inventory ourselves. It is all owned by the franchise. So from the point of working capital, it does not impact as it does. It directly move to them. As far as our model is concerned, we are focusing on a lot on tier 2, tier 3 to start with, and our viability is below 2 lakh rupees per month sales, which is a significant differentiation in terms of the way we have built up the whole EBO plan. So we will, and that is where we are seeing most of the EBOs which has opened has started doing, and we have tested this model now. The idea was to test this model, and we have tested that in interior like Purnia, Sikar, those cities, which is smaller cities, but doing pretty well. So we see a significant opportunity to get into tier 2, tier 3. It both helps from business point of view and brand point of view. And clearly we're seeing that going forward, we will be going very aggressively on that. And this will be still pretty small in terms of contribution, because if you take, as I said, we are expecting 1.5 to 2 lakhs per month. So that's something give us a 20 lakhs even a take. So 20 lakhs.
20% will be around
So this will not
2%
yeah.
to the top.
So it will be maximum 2% right now, even we open those EBOs, but this will be a going forward. It's not a one time, it is a going forward, can be a big significant play in our whole game.
Okay, but just to understand your thought process in terms of how it can actually help our current business, I mean, what are you actually looking to do? I mean, I understood that you're looking to get into the hinterland, But overall, how does it help our business? I mean, does it propel our growth, of our current business, maybe improve the visibility of our products, etc.?
Sure. I think, our business, if you've seen our outerwear is in an overall scenario, it's just 10-12% right now. Where it comes to EBO, outerwear plays significant 70% of the sale. And that helps us a lot to area where we are focusing. And, one of the strategy we have is part of is to focus on the outerwear segment. And that's something we'll be making a different game changer because that has a huge play of outerwear. Both on e-commerce as well as what we are seeing on the EBOs, there is a huge play on the outerwear. So that from our overall strategy, it's really good fit what we are looking for. And also it has a high margin generator business in the sense that the outerwear always contributes more margin.
That gives the visibility to the brand also.
And yeah.
Thanks for clarification.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Hussain Kagzi from Ambit Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just had one question, which was with regards to your manufacturing. You said some of it is outsourced, as in it is given to some of your old workers. Can you just explain like how it works and how much of the overall our manufacturing would be outsourced? Just wanted to understand better on that. Thank you.
As we said earlier, only we buy yarn, we do our own knitting, only the own dyeing, only the stitching part is outsourced. Because you have to employ thousands of laborers. Directly or indirectly, we employ around 40 to 50,000 laborers. So only the job work part we outsource, only the stitching part. The rest is all in-house. It's all well controlled, well managed, managed with our quality team. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of James, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I just had one question. So, would you be able to subdivide the revenue growth in terms of the growth in volume and the growth in pricing, given that we've seen price hikes twice or thrice over the past year?
So, as I said, price rise has happened more on the last 2 months. So, from the volume and price, there will be a gap of 1 or 2% on a yearly basis. But there's not a significant change between price and value because the price remains same almost first to till up to November, I'll say. So, to that extent, 1 or 2% at best.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nilesh Doshi from Green Lantern Capital. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the question again. You did mention about the opportunity in the outerwear segment. So, can you help us understand that what kind of products still not there in our portfolio you are looking to get into this outerwear segment? And what could be the competition, the opportunity size, etc. in this area?
Can you repeat this question? I've just lost out.
Sure. Sir, you did mention that there is a large opportunity for you in the outerwear segment. So, can you help me understand is that what kind of products still we don't have in the portfolio of outerwear and what we want to add? What is the competition in that area versus also the opportunity size?
So, I think, as you know, there are always, the products are there in segments, but there are opportunity within those segments. Take example, athleisure. We have launched a lot of products, but within that space, there are a lot of new product space is opening up. Same way with the sports, there are a lot of new products we are launching. Both, even our premium brand, where we are launching new products in the athleisure as well as on the sports side. So in the winter again, outerwear become now significant with the hoodies and jackets, which is not there earlier, and we have launched now hoodies. We are launching some of the things that we launched, and some of the things we are launching a part of the Bumcham brand, where we are launching, and also in the premium side in Macroman brand, where we are launching the hoodies and others. So I will not be I will not give you precise each segment how much, but across these 2-3 brands where we play on the outerwear, we are seeing a significant room in terms of getting into new product and the growth, because it's a very early stage of where we are right now on outerwear, which is just a 10-12% of our number, and we feel this can be a 20% game on our overall number in next 2-3 years time.
New product is like new fabric also, new yarn also. So other than cotton, we are using man-made fibers also, like polyester and all. That's also helping for these categories like athleisure and casual wear.
So it would be like not just natural fiber based, but also mixed or those kind of.
Other than cotton, mix is important for these categories.
Correct.
That's more in trend now.
Sir, how big that market size would be in India, and at what rate? I'm sure it is growing faster than the other innerwear.
For us, it's not significant at the moment. These man-made fibers we are probably using for 15% of our portfolio. But as the lifestyle is changing, the market trend is changing, probably we might double from these levels, start using these yarns and all, fibers.
So these would be typically what price points? Because you see, especially in the upper middle class and that area, normally we see the branded products, like most of these international branded products in that area. So how do we are going to place ourselves, and it will be sold in our brand? So how, again, the pricing point and the structure would be?
So our price point starts from, say, MRP 500, which goes about rupee 3,000.
Okay.
So the demand is everywhere, urban or rural. With this pandemic, after that, significant change is there for the demand for these products. So.
Okay. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As there are no further questions from the participants, I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope we have able to answer all of your queries. In case you require any further details, you may please contact us or Orient Capital, our investor relation partner. Again, thank you, and we look forward to quarter after quarter this call. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. On behalf of Rupa and Company Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.